Okay, we're on Shabbat, Perek Yud Tet, Mishnah Gimel, continuing to discuss the laws of Milah, chapter 19, Mishnah 3. We're continuing the laws of Milah on Shabbat, of giving a Brit Milah, circumcision to a child. So, as we know, when you wound somebody, then you have to take care of that wound. So the Mishnah says the following: Marchitzin et hakatan, ben lifnei Milah uben la'achar Milah. You can wash the child, okay, whether it's before Milah or after Milah. Mizafin, how do you do that? Mizafin means to sprinkle alav bayad, avalo beklis. You can't bathe the child in the normal way, but according to the Tanakama, he says you can do it with your hands. You can sprinkle water onto the child, but you don't pour it with a kli. You don't pour it with a vessel. Martinur explains, okay, this is you're not allowed to do it kedarko. Haimar chitzin lav kedarko. Kedarko means in the normal way. So since you can wash the child, there's no reason you should do it in the normal way. You could do it in the shelo kedarko, in the abnormal way. And so therefore, the Tanakama says you do it by sprinkling, lizalif, to sprinkle. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, Marchitzin et hakatan b'yom hashlishi shechal liyot b'Shabbat. You're allowed to wash the child on the third day after Milah, that turns out on Shabbat. Meaning, even if you didn't do the Milah on Shabbat, if you did the Milah on Thursday, Friday, Shabbat is the third day. How do you know? Because it says in the Pasuk, Vayi b'yom hashlishi b'yotam ko'avim. It was on the third day when they were in pain. Who was in pain? If you recall, Shimon and Levi convinced the entire city of Shechem to have Brit Milah. And on the third day, when they were all in pain, they attacked and killed them all. Okay, so we know from this that the third day is then generally a day of greater danger. Okay, and therefore you could do marchitzin. The Bartanura explains that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah palig at Tanakama. He argues with the Tanakama. V'savar, and he holds marchitzin et hakatan kedarko. You don't have to sprinkle water. You could just wash the child. Ben lifnei Milah, ben la'achar Milah, whether it's on before or after. On that day, on the first day, on the day of the Milah, if the Milah was on Shabbat. Ubayom hashlishi Milah, on the third day, nami, you also allowed to. Whether it's bein bechamin shehuchmu be'erev Shabbat, bein bechamin shehuchmu be'Shabbat atzmo, whether it's with hot water that was warmed before, or you could even allow to warm up water on Shabbat, the sakanat nefashoti, because it's dangerous, it's physically, it's a danger, it's life-threatening. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. We pass it like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Now, there's a whole discussion in the Kahati. What about the second day? Do they include the second day? Do they not include the second day? If you want to look it up. You can look it up on your own. Mishnah continues. Safek va'androgenes. If you have a case of safek, the Bartanura says safek is ben shmoneh chadashim, safek ben shmoneh chadashim, safek ben tish'ah. Chazal, they had an accepted rule. A child that's born in the 8th month of gestation, well, is not going to make it. That was their accepted understanding. Of course, medically it's not true today, but they understood that was true. That was true. So therefore, if a child is born in the 8th month, you wouldn't violate Shabbat because the child is not going to live. Safek ben tisha, or it's a safek ben tisha. Why? Di'i ben shmona, if it's an 8-month-old child, if it's born 8th month, ke'even be'almahu. It's really sad. They believe that the child is like an even be'alma. The child would not survive. It's like a stone. You wouldn't do milah on Shabbat. That's one position of the safek. The Khati says another explanation of safek is safek whether the child is born bein hashmashot, i.e. after sunset, but before after the sun went down, but before it became fully dark, bein hashmashot. And in that case, we're going to see in later Mishnayot that you're not mechalel Shabbat for bein hashmashot, because you don't know if it's the 8th day. You don't know if the child was born on the 8th day, on Erev Shabbat or Shabbat. Okay, I'm sorry, you don't know if the child was born on Erev Shabbat, and the 8th day would be either Friday or Motzei Shabbat, whatever, or Shabbat itself. So Safek, androgynous, remember we learned as a child who was born both with male genitalia and female genitalia. And mechalin left the Shabbat, you don't violate the Shabbat. So Safek we understand. Why androgynous? Rabbi Yehuda matir ba'androgynous. Rabbi Yehuda says androgynous is okay. Why androgynous? Because he says, Rabbi Yehuda matir ba'androgynous me'iktiv himo lachem kol zachar l'rabot androgynous. Kol zachar meaning it includes any child that has male genitalia, even if it has female. The Tanakama says v'araltem et orlato mishu kulo areal, a child that only has an areal of foreskin. Yatzazeh shechetzion keva. So it will exclude a child that's chetzion keva. We paskin in this case of androgynous, like the Tanakama, that we don't violate the Shabbat. But nowadays, modern medicine would address the problem in another way as well. We'll stop here. As always, if you have comments or questions, feel free to email me, spolter@gmail.com, and we'll dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a great day.